Hello and welcome to our webinar today. I'm Jacob Finlay along with Chris O'Brien. Hey, Chris.
Jacob.
We're excited to have a shop owner roundtable today and have our guests. And before we get into introductions, first we're going to have a quick slide showing, as a disclaimer, what we discuss today should be considered as general advice in nature. If you have specific advice needed for your specific situation, consult your tax, accounting, or legal representative. Thanks, Chris. All right, so quick introduction. So, like I said, I'm Jacob, co-founder of Fullbay with Chris, COO of Fullbay.
Hello, everyone.
And we're excited to have with us here Stacy, who is the president of Equipment Experts out of Tacoma, Washington. Hey, Stacy.
Hey.
And Stacy's going to introduce herself in just a second. And then Matt Gabrielson, who is the owner of Gabrielson Truck Repair and Towing out of Chillicothe,
Yep.
Missouri. Matt, welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you. Stacy, tell us about what you guys are doing up in Tacoma.
Well, we have a family-based business. We do mobile repair, in-shop repair. We work on trucks, forklifts, heavy equipment, and fleet management. And it's a fully family-based business. My husband started it. I work there. Our daughter works there. Our son works there. And we have about 30 people.
Nice. Awesome. Well done. Matt, tell us about your operation.
Second generation Gabrielson Truck Repair and Towing, runs 24/7 mobile towing in-shop. Just pretty well cover it all across North Missouri.
Yeah, interesting towing too. Like last night, just to get us started here, there was some. We had some dinner discussion when we were when everybody flew in, and Matt, you were saying something that I'm still floored to this day. Like in the towing industry, you said that there was a death or a fatality rate for tow truck drivers. What's the?
So the national average is around one every 6 days is a tow truck driver struck and killed in the United States. I think we were talking earlier, the police officers is around 4 per year and fire is around 10 per year. So it's a very large number of people that are being struck and killed on the side of the road running tow trucks.
Yeah, that is just mind-blowing. Yeah, when you said that every 6 days, a tow truck driver. And then we kind of, and I know we're going to get into the content of this, but you cover about 400 miles of highway in your area. And I was just blown away when you said you're working on a set of duals once a week, and they're like off the rig. Like they are completely detached from the trailer, and it's a hub failure.
Yeah.
And that's real. Like that is just this common theme. Like you can predict it, set your watch, budget the
Yep.
parts, everything. It's gonna happen every week.
We see it all the time. Wheel
It's
in
a full
failures.
wheel off condition.
If not the whole hub, definitely the one tire and wheel comes loose, lug nuts come loose. That tire goes for a ride somewhere.
Right.
So yeah, we see that. Yeah, very very common problem, and
Wow.
you know.
Maintenance. It's scary. It's very scary because sometimes I think we were at dinner and Matt was saying sometimes they don't find the vehicle. Or they don't find the wheel, or somebody gets hurt and the truck's gone. They don't even know they lost the wheel
Or where they lost it.
and where. Like they're 1,000 miles down the road and pull into a shop. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. I guess I need a whole assembly.
Yep.
And meanwhile, someone's killed somewhere, or somebody got hurt or whatever, and just mind blowing. And can't stress enough about preventive maintenance.
Yeah, and the specific stats around things like that and the fatalities connected to it we were talking about this too, aren't super carefully tracked by the NTSB. They don't have the manpower to do it. But the reality is you guys are seeing this anecdotally all the time. And we know from the highway fatality rate, at least as of 2019, it was 11 a day related to commercial vehicles on our highways. And 2 of those are drivers. But the rest of them are either somebody killed from a collision or from something like that, like a wheel off or something similar. And I think from like a high level, like a macro level, if you think about the quantity of commercial vehicles on the road is only increasing on average, and the quantity of qualified technicians to maintain those vehicles is only decreasing, it underscores the need to do the absolute most that we can with the technicians that we have, and to really get serious about focusing on preventive maintenance, which can prevent, like everything that you're seeing for the most part is preventable stuff if it was a properly maintained vehicle.
Sure.
So the great thing about that is the fleets win, the shop wins, but also it's a public safety, public health issue. Our families who are sharing the roads with these vehicles, they win too. So anyway.
Yes. Sorry, everyone. I was blown
yeah.
away when I was hearing the stats, and I was like, we had to say, I know we're going to get into the discussion points and have some great questions going, but it was.
Yeah. So let's dive in. There's a lot to talk about. We're going to cover employment. Obviously, that's a great segue, because finding technicians, so hiring, retaining, motivating technicians, not only the technicians that are in the industry, but potentially pulling new people into the industry. I think Stacy has a lot to cover on that. Creating an employee training program, and then technician salary, how to be competitive. So before we get started with the main topics, we wanted to have you guys toss out what are 5 things you would do over if you had to do it again in your shop. What are 5 things that if you could do it again, how would you do it differently? Okay. You don't have to rattle off all the 5, but try to, Stacey,
Well,
you got one?
my husband and I actually sat down and discussed this. What would we have done differently going back? I mean, it was 17 years ago. He had not been a manager or a service writer or anything other than a mechanic. And I had never worked in the automotive industry at all. I was in marketing from a corporate job. So we started this basically not knowing how to do anything but fix stuff. And he did that on his own for about 3 years. So what we would have done is we didn't know that there were people out there that taught you how to do this. We would have gone and got teaching, we would have learned, we would have gotten consulting, we would have gone in different places. We didn't even know that stuff existed. So we struggled our way through and had all of the different, all of the mistakes that you make as a small business owner. We didn't know there was a place to go to find out how to do it exactly the way you're doing, to learn how to do it.
Like basic business skills, how to run a small business, and then specifically how to run a shop.
Yeah, both of those. And then the other thing is that we would have also learned how to communicate a lot better. There's a lot of communication, a lot of leadership, and holding people accountable, that if you haven't managed a group or managed people before, you learn that at the same time you're learning how to do the business. So we would have really intensively learned those 2 things, is a couple of the things that we would have done out of the 5. We would have just educated ourselves.
That's actually the 3rd thing on my list, is train myself and the techs on new trends in the industry, i.e. repair procedures and billing practices.
Yep, we have training on ours too. That would have been number 5.
Just taking myself to a class was one of the best things I ever did for myself. Is just, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. It's something so obvious that you just showed up at a shop management class and went, oh yeah, that definitely improved the way I thought about this situation.
How would things have been different if you'd done that earlier?
I definitely would have moved. Well, that follows into my next one. Moving myself out of every task sooner, delegating more tasks to other people sooner, and realizing that competent people can take care of themselves is something that's my 5th one on the list. Is realizing that I don't have to touch everything, and being able to be a manager and work for the business instead of in it, or vice versa, however you want to put that. And really simplify everything to a point where someone else can handle it. Break it into pieces.
It's like a shop in a box, basically.
Yeah.
Policies, procedures.
Yeah. And you often hear it. Most of the shop owners are working in the business. They're still turning wrenches, and they're trying to be the parts person because no one else is competent to mark it up. And they're writing all the tickets because people forget to bill stuff. And if you work on the business, you can actually be more impactful than always working in it, and apply those skills and scale it.
I got to tell you, the first time Greg went to to get a service writer, he fought it. I mean, and it's the same story. Nobody knows how to do it. He got it, and immediately there was just so much growth that happened just from having somebody else do it. But it took him a lot to believe that. I mean, this is where the training came in. It took him a lot to believe that that would work.
It would actually be worth the expense.
Yeah, it was the cost. I mean, at the time, you're one person, you're trying to make all the ends meet and figure out how to, what is profitability? What does that mean? What is a margin? Trying to figure that stuff out, and then spend more money on somebody that doesn't know how to do it the way you would do it. It was very difficult for him it took him like a year to break down and do it.
It's interesting on that topic. We were just talking about, we hired somebody recently, and they start in a couple of weeks, and there was a discussion where, let's write everything down that they're going to be required to do. We're just going to give them this task list. And I was like, well, hang on a second. They're in a leadership role, and they probably know more than we do, or they know some things that we don't know. So let's let them tell us what needs to get done. Assess the situation, let them know what our culture is and our core competencies, things that are important to us, and then let them put their kind of spin on it. And, not run a wrecking ball through our processes, but you hire competent people, or you try to hire people that are even better than you. And they have seen things you haven't seen, which whether you get it from a training class or you just let someone have a voice, you can also grow from it. So
that being said, you definitely want to lay out expectations on a hire, have really thorough job descriptions. You guys have probably learned this the hard way, because it becomes so hard to terminate somebody when the job description was kind of amorphous in the first place, right? So maybe 30, 60, 90-day expectations and general guidelines, like this is what we expect out of your performance, but the specific prescriptions of how they do it, hopefully they're the one, like,
Open to determinate, or
yeah. That's why we're hiring you.
Identify some metrics in the process.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very big spectrum there, because if you don't have that in place and you promote somebody because you're all just trying to make everything happen, and you don't have parameters around that job description or what they're doing, or it's morphing so much as you're growing, you run the risk later that you have people that haven't been, that don't have parameters, and they don't know what their actual end result that they're trying to accomplish. They're trying to accomplish so many things.
Right.
And people need that structure. But if you haven't ever been in HR or haven't built it or haven't built structure, a lot of times people go in and just try to do stuff and then later backwards engineer into positions.
Yeah, it's the superhero and the firefighter complex, where I'm going to promote you because you know how to fight fires.
Right.
And it's actually chaos, and it's not healthy. That it's great when there's a fire. They know how to put it out, but that's not how to run your business, firefighting. And when someone's just really good, we run into that as well. So,
What's the saying? Like, somebody who's able to, like, pretty much anybody can accomplish a goal, but the ability to accomplish a goal in the midst of the whirlwind of every day, right? That is unique, and that's what you want to develop or hire and so forth, because you guys have goals as an organization, right? You're trying to execute against your plan, and
Now you backwards engineer. What is your goal? What are the KPIs to measure it? And then you craft everything that goes around that and build it backwards. And then you get down to, okay, what are your competencies that you need in that? Okay, what are the extra things that you need? Okay, and then what is your daily and weekly list?
you guys doing that?
Yeah.
You guys doing annual planning?
Yep.
Yeah, financial plan?
Yep.
You guys use our spreadsheet that
No.
we put out? You've got your own now.
I didn't know about it.
Oh, yeah. We should do a webinar about that.
Yeah, no, I'm like deep into financial.
Yeah, you would love it. So it's basically, I made it. So
Oh,
There we
so
go.
that just happened. Whoa, everyone, you heard it
Just-
here.
anyway, I can actually.
right.
So I can.
That's what that was.
Can I replace
Me.
a wheel still? No, I wish I could, but I'm not talented in that way. But I can do a really
can.
Spreadsheet?
good,
Yeah, he's
a
pretty
good,
good at it.
simple. Like the simpler the better, because you could go crazy with these things. But at the end of the day, if you basically come up with the same result, you may as well just use something way simpler, if that makes sense. But you guys do it.
We
You guys
do.
are doing
Yeah,
annual
that's-
planning.
Yeah, we did. We've already built out our budget for next year, what our low, medium, and high targets are going to be,
Nice.
and stuff like that. So we're
Look at this.
job.
It's October, and you've already built out your budget, right? Like this. That is the new trend. Is not like it's usually fourth quarter planning for the next, but sometimes it gets to this rush. There's holidays, procrastination. And it's funny because we just did that too. We just launched in like August, September, this budgeting cycle to kind of get an idea. So
we haven't
anyway.
done the whole budget. We've got our targets and we've got our
Still,
big.
all right, you're
fleshing
working on it.
Fleshing it out, and then putting our goals in. What are we going to try to accomplish next year, and lay that out.
Do you wish you had done that from the beginning?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. Do you guys do that, Matt?
Well, I'm kind of in a different point. I've done the growing. I've been through the growing pains of that. I'm kind of more in coast right now. So my budget looks very simple because it's just, I don't have anything else to purchase. I don't have any big purchases coming along. I don't
Just
have
keep this thing running.
Just let it roll.
Yeah.
It's there. It does its own job. Leave it alone.
Okay.
So
We-
my
That's
job
a
gets
goal.
pretty easy there.
So we may get deeper into that. I know we're getting through the top 5. What else do you guys have?
Let's see. One of my first ones was our location was pretty terrible when we started. I wish I'd have moved to a larger location sooner. Got a little more visible right off the word go. Which we have a new facility now in all 3 places, but they're on the highway, very very accessible. Our original place, I got so tired of hearing, I didn't even know you guys were back here. I drive this road every single day,
Right.
And it was just like, oh my god.
But you're customer facing. It's important. You're on the highway, servicing highway breakdowns, servicing highway wreckage.
Yeah.
This isn't private fleet type locking up fleets for PM maintenance, right? Your emergency
we're more
repair.
rural.
Ready to go.
We're definitely less. One fleet runs all of our daily lives to everything over the road.
Unscheduled repairs.
Yeah. So smaller, much smaller fleets. 2, 3, 4 trucks. So.
Yeah, makes sense.
Oh,
What
and
else?
you- yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, he was about to say
And
something.
then the last thing I had was firing bad customers sooner.
That's a good
Was
one.
my
Interesting.
Was on my
That's a good
list. So I inherited this business back in 2014, and I inherited some of the customers that went with it, and they maybe didn't have the cleanest books, weren't getting everything taken care of the way they should have been, and so. In that, I wish I would have got rid of those. Just starting, I don't need this customer. It's not making me any money. It's costing me time. Once you can track it, once we kind of were on with Fullbay and we could track what was going on, it was like, oh wow, look at the hours we've spent in this guy that we're not collecting from. And even if we are collecting from him, it's 60, 90, 120 days out.
Is that the key thing? Like they don't pay their bill? What is it that makes a bad customer?
We just had a few, and then we had another customer that it took up a lot of our time, and it didn't bill out that well. It was actually a fleet, one of the
Like a
smaller
third
fleets
party?
we had, and they had an in-house mechanic, and it seemed like we would help him do this, do that. We'd go out and visit, and hey, do you need this? Oh yeah, we can do that, and then turn around and the sale was going somewhere else, or he was servicing it himself. So we were essentially just being their advisor to their mechanic. And so we spent a lot of time, trying to court this customer, and we essentially just adopted their mechanic for no pay. It was little things like that you can't, until you put the numbers down and you go, oh, this is not profitable. It takes a minute to get that figured out. So.
You guys have seen that too, Stacy?
Oh yeah. When we first started, we were so service oriented. We just wanted to help people. We didn't really have the business side. Greg went out of our driveway and was fixing things. And so the concept of having bad customers didn't occur to us until we were like ripping our hair out and went to one of these things. Oh yeah, we fire those guys. Like, you can do that? And so when we started seeing that, and the customers that they don't respect what you're doing, or they're trying to really whittle down, or they're questioning every line on every invoice, it becomes more of a battle. It's not a partnership. It's a battle. Somebody's trying to win something here.
Yeah.
It's not working.
It's turning into win-lose, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and our core values are the same. It's similar to, our vision is similar to yours. Is that we want our community to be safe, and that's what we're out there battling for, not for this line item. We want your fleet to be safe so that our families can drive next to it. And that's a partnership, not a battle.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's no one talks about this concept of letting go or separating from a customer, because it just doesn't. You're not supposed to say that, and then your words can be twisted and misused, and that's not at all what you both are saying. It's that you got to have a win-win, healthy relationship. Mm-hmm. You have labor to pay, parts to pay. There's a lot of different components to it, so it's very honorable to see how you guys are approaching that.
We had one customer that called in one time, and they're like, "Well, we'd like to have somebody come out. My owner, I'm the fleet manager, but my owner, he's going to yell at him when he gets there." And I'm like, "I'm not thinking I'm sending one of my techs out." He said, "Well, he does it to everybody." And like, "That's okay. Let me recommend a few other people, but I'm not going to put my techs in the place of being abused."
Yeah, or fix my truck. Like you're a heavy duty repair shop, and I want a lift kit on my truck and this, that, and the other, and just get it done. Or you might not get my business. We've seen some of that crazy stuff where people are doing 4x4 lift kits on the owner of the fleet's truck.
One of the best things that ever happened to us as far as that was, we had another shop open up just a few miles down the street, and man, we have given them so much business. It's fantastic.
Matt, there you go. Hey, I got somebody for you.
I know a guy that has nothing to do right now.
Well, and it's good to have good relationships with those people around you, because we end up calling each other. Okay, we're sending somebody over to you. We're not happy with them, but they're coming over to you, but we want to warn you. And so we get that, and we go back and forth with different people when they wander in, and that's the benefit of having good working relationships with people around you.
Yeah. It's like we were talking about, like the sheer numbers of the situation. Like you two are unique in your organization. It's the fact that you've assembled qualified technicians who can actually maintain commercial vehicles is a rarity these days. And not that you want to be, a jerk about it or anything, but you have to recognize your value. And why spend time? I mean, it's up to everybody to make the decision, but why spend time doing somebody's lift kit because you're feeling pressure and you're feeling a loss when there's more trucks out there to maintain than techs to maintain them.
Yeah, then you can even handle. Why are you messing with the little stuff?
Yeah. There may be pockets of the country where, you're really scrapping to find business, but for the most part, there's no end to the opportunity. Well, okay. Any other top fives that you guys wanted to hit before we moved on to the tech recruiting?
I would have purchased land faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have definitely done that. Because you're in this to make money. You're in this to take care of your family in some, on some level. We didn't move into that as quickly as we should have. And I think that is, the sooner you get into it, the more land that you buy for the different places is good for everybody. It keeps your rent low, particularly if you're in a place that has high demand, like in the Seattle area.
Yeah, you're in Seattle, Washington.
There's no land.
And you could get kicked to the curb at any point. Right?
Your lease goes up, triple, whatever, or you're out, and someone else deciding the future of your company.
So when we outgrew our first facility, the amount of time I spent moving trucks around to get to the next truck was astronomical. I would spend a full entire day getting a truck out to work on it. But me personally, if it was cold, well, this truck won't start. This truck's broken down. We're gonna have to tow it out of the way, and then you're the third truck back, and it would take hours to get to the next truck to even put inside. Bigger, better facility. Definitely glad we did that. I wish we would have done it sooner.
Good.
I was going to say, building these businesses for family, and I know I don't own a shop today, but I always have on my list spending more time with my family, or like if I could change it, and I think I know this is, again, a little off topic, but you've got the ultimate freedom from the shop, Matt. You said to us at dinner where we're all still...
Wait, is that public, though?
I don't know. Matt, you're a certified firefighter.
Correct.
So you volunteer, which is just over the top. You're helping the community. And then you became a captain in 10 days. It was almost like you were...
Not a fire captain.
Like a captain
like a
of a
sailboat.
Yeah. All I could think about was, I don't know why Captain Crunch when he was saying it to me, but...
That was funny.
It was like, he's like, yeah. And then, so anyway, tell the story. You're going to go out into...
Yeah, so we closed on our house in, 90 days or so. We actually signed contract on it this week. Selling our house, pretty much everything we own in that regards to it, and we are buying a sailboat and going to sail the Caribbean for 90 days next summer, maybe longer. We don't know. So
awesome.
Yeah. So
has that always been a dream? Is it suddenly hit you?
Yeah, a little bit of both. It was one of those things where I was kind of tired of what I was doing, and I wanted to move on and do something different. And my shop doesn't need me there daily, so we're going to do something different. Yeah.
Whole family. 3 kids.
3 girls and my wife. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's in the summer, or are you guys homeschooling?
Yeah. So May. Yeah.
And then if we kept going, part of the story, he always does, long story short, is the role model for all of this has been doing it for 6 years. Yeah. So that's where the cliffhanger is like, like when he says and I don't know, the people he's tracking with just never came back. Yeah.
That'll be a fun option. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, be running Fullbay from Africa somewhere.
Awesome. Yeah, so they hear that, running Fullbay from Africa or somewhere on a boat with your cellular service from Elon Musk.
There you go.
Fullbay does work in Africa.
Yep.
And isn't that the goal? And we were talking last night afterwards. Isn't that the goal of being a business owner, to have the choice to go do this, to stay and run your business and grow it, or let it continue on having capable people there? But having that ultimate choice is I think that's the goal of almost everybody that's started a small business.
Yeah. If you can pull it off. And it's not, it's obviously it's not just Fullbay or having a cloud-based solution. Like we were talking about earlier, you have to have the processes in place, people that you can trust to execute and whom you can hold accountable.
Systems. You do have to have systems. You do have to be able to get access. You're not going to have a server on the catamaran
in
the closet that needs its security patch every whatever. But put that stuff in place.
There's a reason why we don't see a lot of consolidation in the commercial repair space. Like there's a few that are out there, but because it's hard to do, and there's not a lot of thought leadership out there. Like you guys had to kind of discover it yourselves, like you said. Well, let's jump in to the employment. So how are you currently recruiting new employees, specifically techs? Matt,
we do social media, word of mouth generally. We rarely do any advertising outside of that. We have used temp service, brought in people for odd jobs, sometimes move them into a more permanent position. But that's really where we spend most of our advertising budget, which is really low.
Social media, like Facebook
social
ads.
media, Facebook, yeah. And
no Indeed or anything like that.
No, we're in a rural market. It's not like I'm competing with 25 other dealerships in Kansas City to pull in this tech for this, that, or whatever. I mean, there's 4 shops within 25 miles of me. So it limits the competitiveness of where these guys are going. So I mean, when there's an opening, generally people know about it. It's not. We don't have to dig real deep to find them. So. And
are you finding a lot of because you guys are out in farm country? Are you finding a lot of people that have basic repair skills?
So we talked about this last night. The good old farm boy is still out there, and they make pretty good technicians. Really, they do. We have a local VOTEC school, vocational school, that has a diesel mechanics course. So they put some effort into training some guys, and we see them come through there, and they're generally a little too young for us when they come out of there, but with a little bit of experience, then we can pick them up from that. Yeah. So
the classic farmhand, and then
works well.
They work hard, donate blood, don't ask for much, fair pay for an honest day. All the basic stuff you would expect, and then they go home and still work on the farm.
Yep.
So grandpa or dad or whoever taught them right, and then they go back home and still work on the farm.
So not a huge pain point for you guys, or is it?
So we survived COVID very well. We walked right through that as far as tech shortage. Everybody was employment, and I was just like, I'm still good. We're not losing.
Really?
We're not gaining.
People were coming to you, or
we just I mean, we really just stayed pretty just flat. Just we didn't lose a lot of guys. We didn't gain a lot of guys. We just kind of you've got the turnover at the bottom that always kind of rolls through, but. Our guys that have been there forever stayed there, and nobody really went anywhere. And then I was just talking with her Stacy last night, about last week we had a shop empty, literally lost 5 techs in one day. It was kind of a weird storm of events that happened. We had 2 guys that had already found other jobs. One guy was only there for a week, but it was just poof, they're gone. So I kind of got put aback by that. But outside of this one little weird scenario where we lost 5 guys in one day, we really survived very well through this whole thing. I have no complaints about that, honestly. So
yeah, that's cool to hear.
Yeah,
Stacey, what about you guys?
We're pretty strategic about hiring, and we've got 17 techs, and so you always have your core group, and you always have this group that churns a little bit. They come in, you test.
You hope they turn into a rock star, but
right.
Yeah.
And so we're really working. We'd like to get up over 20 to 25 techs, and so we've been working on that a while. But in our area, it is very competitive for technicians, and a lot of technicians have moved out of Washington. And I don't have statistical data on that, just my own anecdotal. Talking to techs, one of ours moved to Idaho. I talked to 4 or 5 last week that moved to Texas or Florida. So they're just there's not a lot in our area. So we're pretty strategic about how we go about getting techs. And I mean, we had the diesel school that we started brilliantly in March of 2020. And we did put 50 techs through that. And some of those came out too green for us. They had to get a little bit more seasoning and went into apprenticeship programs and things like that. And so now those guys are coming back around and have an established relationship with us. But yeah, we're very strategic about it. We're very strategic about our marketing on it. We are currently doing referral bonuses. So if somebody refers a tech to us, they get a bonus.
Employee or non-employee?
Non-employee, employee. I mean, I've taken these little flyers over to the coffee girls. In Seattle, there's a lot of latte stands.
Yeah.
And,
sure.
And that's where all the guys go, or all the technicians go. And so we talk to them. They get a referral bonus if somebody.
Wow.
Do you give them a flyer this is how you spot a tech? They're going to be wearing this shirt, with their name, stuff like that.
Well, they establish relationships. People get their favorite places, and they're going to know what these guys do. And somebody will be complaining about their job, and look over here. Or there's different people too, parts people. Things like that you can go out and be creative on looking everywhere.
That's cool.
Do you have any tactics for smaller shops that are competing with larger shops for techs that you would recommend? Obviously, not the smaller shops in Tacoma that you guys are competing with, but what would you do as a smaller shop for recruiting techs in a world like this?
In my opinion, the smaller shops can make people feel way more important. They're way more personable. Eddie and Holly, they do lunches. They provide lunches. They stock the refrigerator so their guys have lunches. And it becomes more of a family environment. When we were younger, I'd make biscuits and gravy. We'd make all kinds of things when we were having our meetings and stuff. But also, we meet with our teams our people every couple of weeks, and we talk about their personal, professional, financial goals. So we know what they're doing, and they know that we care that they're going to thrive. Not only do we want the safety of the community around us, we want people who work with us to have benefited in some way. And so if we can help them accomplish any of their goals, like one of my gals just got a housekeeper. She's been working on getting that. And so she got it, so one of her goals got marked off. So we were working with her on it every couple of weeks, and we're building that up with our techs too.
The lunch thing, by the way, at the end of the day, that it's not that much money to provide lunch for the techs. Why don't we see that more often? Because it's like the Google or the big tech company tactic where you try to keep the people in the building, the hope that you get more productivity, and there's some truth to that. Is that a viable tactic on a daily basis to just provide lunch? No one has to leave the building?
Never done it, but I would assume it would be.
Just building into the budget, Stacy, for 2023.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, so again, we were talking, we ended up, I feel like Chatty Cathy or whatever.
No,
we were talking last night a lot about some stuff while Kansas was doing their job on the game. But at any rate, you were talking about this daycare.
Oh yeah.
This was this is like way early forward-thinking stuff that you would think only large companies can do. And when I say large companies, like Walmart, Target type large, and out of nowhere, you got something that just blew me away.
Yeah. So when we built the new facility, I built myself a new office in this facility, and then everybody moved to the new place, and I stayed in the old place. So they had this brand new office sitting there ready to go with nobody in it. And we just converted it into essentially a child's daycare room, filled it full of beanbags and toys and TVs that they can all play with and books, and it's got its own bathroom. So when the techs have a doctor's appointment for their kids or the secretaries or whoever, they can just bring them in, set them in the room. They're there.
No kidding.
Yeah. So.
It's either that. He said, do I lose my tech, or do I provide a safe place for them to bring their kid? Yeah. And I was just like, that's brilliant. Yeah. Because it didn't cost them anything. And then you could kind of expand that, right?
You could theoretically hire somebody.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you could. Yeah, most of the kids that we have that use it are of an age where they can pretty well manage themselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely cheaper on me to have them check in with a kid every half hour than it is to send them home for the day. Or during COVID, we talked about that. It's like, oh, you're quarantined for 2 weeks. You can't be with whomever. Your kid can't go to school for 5 days. There was nothing for them to come into the office and just bring their kid for a week.
Right.
And that was, the kid wasn't sick. There was nothing there, but the school policy was you don't show up for 5 days after you were in the same room with this other kid.
There's if you have like a monopoly on paid search like Google does, you can do all kinds of crazy stuff, right, with money because you're just printing money. But in a situation where there's so much demand for your services, like on the top line side, right, it seems like for the most part there's no end to the demand. The challenges in hiring people, it seems like you can look to some of these, maybe some of them are crazy, but some of these tactics, like having a daycare at the office, is something that's done out there. I've never heard of that being done at a commercial repair shop.
Never, not in commercial.
But it makes a lot of sense. Like, so maybe you guys don't need to hire somebody, but we were lucky enough. Like, my wife was able to always stay at home with the kids, and we have a bunch of kids. But
8.
when I talk to
For
people,
the record, 8, everyone.
when
8.
I talk to people who have to do daycare, it's so expensive.
Yes.
Like, it's confiscatorily expensive, and to be able to offer something like that, like you could provide it at such a lower cost than they could do it, and to have that as a benefit, like. You
can almost have it funded by
like
them.
Massive
You could,
loyalty. And build it into your plan, right? If you need to raise the labor rates, the parts markup, whatever you need to do it, because the market will bear it. You're just reflecting the state of the market. Stacey, you want to say something?
We lost a really good tech because they had an infant. His wife was pregnant, and the place that hired them was a conglomerate. And they had daycare for their employees, so they gave him free daycare for an infant, which is like $1,000 a month.
Yeah, he's like an in-house tech at them.
Yeah.
It wasn't an independent shop that was doing that.
No, it was like a series of golf courses, so they had money.
Okay.
And they were able to offer him that. We at the time, we couldn't do that. We'd have, then we'd have to figure out how to do it for everybody else. But we lost a really good person because of just that.
Yeah, it's interesting too, just to kind of volley back to what Stacey said. I've never heard this either in heavy duty, where meeting with your employee to find out what their goals are and what they want to do, and then trying to help them achieve those. There's always personal growth. There's business growth where, getting different certifications or learning electrical or whatever it is. And we typically just focus on that to get them more money or something personally for the tech, for their skill. But that is pretty interesting too. I don't hear that every day. I mean, like, that's between the two of you, this is pretty interesting for anyone who's listening to this. If you're not thinking about things like this, there's 2 right here.
And the thing is, just like hiring a service writer for your husband, right? It's an expense. Like, how can we justify this? But the reality is, if it means that you have even one more tech, that one more tech could justify that alone, still with profit. Right?
Absolutely.
And you know this because you guys are dialing in a financial plan, right? Do you guys do those? Do you do the annual plan?
I don't know.
Maybe we could put it in the notes, like the link to download the spreadsheet.
I think we could
financial
do
plan.
that.
Anyway, sorry, Stacey.
Oh, no, what I was going to say, the other things that you can do that are absolutely no cost at all that tie into helping other people achieve their goals is next week there's a couple that I happen to know, and the husband is like a top tier residential commercial real estate, and his wife runs a brokerage. So the two of them are coming in, and they're doing, like, I try to do these classes about once a quarter or once every couple of months, and this is going to be real estate and brokerage. They can come in and sit down and ask any question that they want about buying a rental, buying their first home. Maybe they want to buy a duplex. Maybe they want to refinance.
It's like basic life skills.
Yeah, so having people come in and do that. We did an investment one before COVID. This is my first one after COVID, but we did an investment one for COVID, and one of my guys just basically laid out his whole retirement out of it. And they're free for me to do. They're just people that, we commonly work with. But bringing those, we run into this stuff because we're running businesses. We think this. We're running out problems and thinking out in the future, but a lot of times techs or their families may not be doing that. Yeah.
It's interesting. My first house, I was fortunate to buy my first house at, I think it was 20 or 21. I was buying a house. I didn't know the first thing about it. I had turned wrenches in a tire shop. I had done other stuff. I was working at a company. I had to call my uncle. And I talked to my mom, and she's like, you should call your Uncle Mike. He works for IBM. Like, he was the only smart guy in the room that could actually do it, right? Where these poor, broke down kids in Tucson. And anyway, that's interesting because you underestimate something like that life skill. When I was 21, I didn't know. And some of these techs are between 21 and 25. I mean, who is going to teach them? And then you go to a broker and you find out. And interesting enough, I got a quote. I talked to my uncle, and then I went back to my broker and I said, yeah, I talked to my uncle. He works for IBM. And the broker's like, hang on a second. I think we can do a little better on this interest rate. And so it was interesting, like, like I was about to get taken for on my rate until I said that. I did go see my uncle. So anyway, that is pretty cool that you're doing that as well.
Yeah. take care of them, right?
Yeah.
And make it a family feel. That's a great culture to have. We have a couple questions, if you guys don't mind interjecting. So Chad is asking, I'd like to ask the panel, what is the greatest asset, process, or anything in your day-to-day in your business that you would tell someone starting a new shop that is a must-have, must-do, or must-implement, basically? What would you tell somebody starting a new shop?
It's got to be the people. I mean, just to carry on that conversation, the people that you're putting around you has to be number one. I mean, you can make it without a lot of stuff if you've got people with the right attitude in there doing the right things.
Because we tend to be the average of the 5 to 10 people we spend the most time with, right? So do we want to fill our business with people that drag us down or lift
exactly.
us up? Right?
Yeah, because they'll make or break you. I mean, I'm second generation, so when I started working in it, we worked in a gravel lot with, manual jacks and no tools to speak of. Everything came from Harbor Freight, and that's where you got it, and that's just what you had to do it with, and that's what you did your job with. Now we have, wireless Wi-Fi jacks, and everything goes in the air, and the techs are working underneath it, and it's heated, and everything is completely different. Do any of those tools make the difference? Probably not. Nothing that I could have bought or built made the difference besides the people that were there doing it.
So great people plus Harbor Freight tools.
Yeah, plus Harbor Freight tools.
Will still mean success.
Yeah. I mean, kept a business running for years with no assets essentially until, I bought it out, and then we grew and grew and grew. But it was lots of working outside, and there was nothing that made the difference that I bought X and that rocketed
changed
the difference.
Changed the world. Yeah.
Maybe some software. I don't know.
Well, that's obvious.
Yeah.
Stacey starts with an F, right?
Yeah.
I don't
what do
know.
You think, Stacey?
I think I always tend to analyze a little too deeply here, but I would go with you. You have to know what you're trying to create. You have to have a vision and have the leadership there to take your people and pull them. So I think you have to have a vision and know what you want to do. Build a shop, sail in the Caribbean, and then after that you have to understand and be able to measure in some way whether you're making it or not. I mean, because we've all run a shop and not known, at the end of the year, what does a P&L say? You got to have some sort of measurement to know what's right or wrong, and then layer on the people that will get you to that vision.
Yeah. And
be able to translate at that. I have just recently learned the value of leadership and vision and trying to, and core values and mission and all of that. That's such an easy way to translate what you as a group is trying to accomplish. And if you don't have that in place, everybody's just kind of like going in different directions. They have to have a call. They have to have, this is what we're trying to get to. And then you get a lot less conflict or a lot less confusion and chaos because people are going in different directions. So I thought we were going over here. So.
Yeah, and as a accountant, right, back in my background, who's been involved with willing companies into existence, so I've been there. I think having a plan, even though it sounds like hoity-toity and everything to have like a financial plan, but seriously, do it, even if it's super simple. Like plan your work and work your plan. Like decide what you're going to do, and it's amazing how well you can actually execute to the plan once the plan is actually made. It's almost like the significance is in the planning, not in the plan. But you can really get it pretty close, and we've seen that so much that it's like Covey says, you have the spiritual creation first, you map it out, and then you execute and you do the physical creation.
I'm big on this. Someone told me a long time ago, painting a battleship. They said, hey, these, when they paint a battleship, they start and they wrap themselves around, and by the time they're done, it takes so long that it's time to repaint the battleship. And so they're constantly painting these battleships, the Navy, and that's like these full-time crew. And it's like you apply that to process and business, and just when you think you got it done, that's time to start all over again. Like just redouble check, make sure is that the most efficient way. Let's go back and relook at that, compensation, whatever it is, and just constantly paint the battleship in the processes of your business.
Sacred cows,
stuff
like that.
Yeah, because life changes, business changes.
Got another one here. Do you offer tech incentives or other bonus programs?
Yeah, tech salary. That's one of our next things.
Yeah.
Let's open that thing up because we're on the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, we'll go fast. But tech salary, what's the trend in tech salary? Is it staying the same, going up, going down?
Going up.
It's
a rocket.
Are you raising your labor rates that you bill your customers accordingly?
Yep.
What's the rule of thumb? Like, how much do you raise your labor rate that you bill out for every dollar that you pay the techs more?
So it should be about, we figure around 25% of whatever their billing should go back to the tech,
Yeah.
give or take. So we try to adjust accordingly.
Okay.
Of course.
So $1 to the techs for top line billing
Yeah.
helps you cover all the expenses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So that keeps it relatively close. Of course, there's fiddle and all that, but yeah, it's just going up, and then the conversation with the customer is get in line. I mean, everything's going up. It's all going up. We can't afford these guys.
Right.
They can't afford their stuff. It's just all the way up. And really, most of our customers have been relatively understanding about it.
They're just grateful to get the work done.
Yeah,
They need
yeah,
the, they need
yeah.
the trucks running.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, some people will subscribe to just pay everybody a base wage, so just pay everybody salary or some sort of wage and not a bonus structure or some sort of incentive. We'll just call it an incentive. Some people, have it built into their comp. Some people have these year-end, quarterlies, monthly. Do you both have like a variable compensation component and a base?
So yeah, we have our normal base rate in shop, and then they scale when they're doing road service and or driving a tow truck, and then we do a kickback on any of the major incident big wrecks we do. We give 10% of every big wreck we do back to the guys that work it. So, and we pay those quarterly. So.
Yeah, Amy and I almost quit last night. He told us about what do you got, like $65,000 rollover, all in with all these wreckers. And if I'm on the crew working on that, it doesn't matter if I'm the laborer, the truck driver, whoever it is, I get 10% of the take on that as part of my incentive. So I want to get there, do a good job, and I don't want anyone else called. I want to do it with the least amount of people as possible.
I will say it blows me away what you guys pull off on those. It's just crazy. That's amazing.
Similar scenario.
We pay hourly, and we pay based on incentive on efficiency, labor hours efficiency.
There we go.
And we're also working on creating what we're calling a magnitude of impact scale. What is good and what's remarkable, what's average, what's excellent, and comparing to that. So that's going to tie back into what our efficiencies are.
Is that pulling in things like comebacks and that kind of thing?
We haven't figured out how to pull the comebacks into it. We watch those pretty carefully, and for me, the comebacks are like canaries. They're telling you what's going on. If you can identify on the comebacks who they're coming from, is it parts related? Is it a training issue? All of that early warning, if you can see that early and get it handled, that's a canary, and you can stop other problems later.
And it's not really something that you necessarily want to build into the status quo, like
it's too hard.
An acceptable comeback rate.
It's hard to track. It's really hard to track. It's one of the things that, we pull reports and take a look, but it can be very difficult to track.
It was interesting. There was a quote that someone sent me. Or it was actually a post. It was probably a TikTok. I know you're a TikTok fan. So I'm Instagram, whatever. So I get this Instagram feed from somebody, and it says it's UFC fighter Ronda Rousey, and they're talking about entitlement. Hey, shouldn't you make as much as the guys or the fights? And she had this compelling statement that said, the way that this works is it's what I bring to the table. I bring big money and they pay me big money. You don't bring big money, you don't get paid big money. And she goes, so forget about all this stuff about I'm a girl. And it was pretty impressive. I was like, whoa, and that's kind of what it sounds like. Some of these incentive plans are geared around is you're doing variable compensation based on the contribution of the individual and the impact that they're having on the organization, which that's a win-win. It's not an entitlement situation where I get to win and just, I don't know, for whatever reason, because of some status or I know somebody or I've been here forever. You actually have to contribute, so it is common. Have you done variable compensation the entire time, or did you learn the easy way or the hard way? Are there any learnings on that?
We've always had kind of a step-up basis on what you're doing pays better. From, you start the guy out in the shop all the time in the shop, then they get a little more experience. You get them in the road service, that bumps up. Then they get a little more experience on that, get them in a wrecker, and it just goes up and up.
More and more money, and always variable.
Yeah.
Same thing with you?
We bring people in, we train them to do PMs, just maintenance and real light repairs. They do that for about a year. Then they come into the shop. They do other things in the shop for about a year, and by that time they're a good field repair person, and they go that way. What's interesting is figuring out who's an apprentice, who's a journeyman, who's a master, and paying along that. And my daughter actually taught me a trick this week on that. And what they're doing is going out to Indeed, searching the areas, and now that they're posting the wages, you can break them into thirds. You get your apprentice, you get your journeyman, you get your master on what the pay scale would be.
Oh, interesting.
As far as measuring tech productivity, I assume you're using efficiency. Is that right? So build hours versus worked hours?
Yeah.
Hours on the clock versus hours invoiced, or what do you guys do, Stacey?
We do it differently because I want to watch the dollars. I want to watch the actual dollars they're producing out of labor. So we take their actual dollars sold, and we divide it by the actual amount of hours worked, not sick time, vacation, or anything like that.
Are you talking about labor dollars, not part dollars? Labor
Not
dollars.
part dollars.
Okay.
I want to see how efficient they're being with their time. And the parts are the parts. But so we do total labor sales per week, total actual hours worked, and that gives me a percentage. And then we base it on what our hourly rate is. So they're either over or under what our hourly rate is. And that way I'm never going to get, I've seen people have problems with their compensation programs when it's billed hours, because they can lower the rate of the dollars. They can reduce the dollar amount.
Yeah.
Instead of $150 an hour, it's $100 an hour, and now they've just sold more billed hours. And so I've seen people get
like a
gamed.
service writer or something gaming the system to
Right.
get more billable. Your tech exceeds, they're winning, service writers
Everybody's
winning,
winning.
everybody's winning, shops losing.
Exactly. So
That's pretty
So you're
interesting.
taking the total labor dollars, dividing it into the total hours the tech is on the clock.
that they have worked, yes, that they've billed.
So 40 hours typically divided into their total labor. Interesting. And then you compare it.
That's
Okay.
how we
Yeah.
What do you guys do, Matt?
We can't do it that way because of the way we bill
It's too much variability. You guys
in
are-
our labor rates.
Yeah.
So, we're 157, 167, 177 an hour in shop whenever. And then all of a sudden you have one tech that bills out a rotator at $1,250 an hour for 4 hours. It messes the whole matrix
Right,
up.
yeah,
You
yeah.
can't do it that way.
And I know that we're on the last 4 minutes. If I started a shop, or I'm on this call and I own a shop, and I don't have a variable component, what would you say to me, to my pay plan?
Always incentivize.
Yeah.
Always pay for, you want to, in my opinion, you want to recognize effort and reward results.
All right.
And you need to get a system in place that gives you the information
Yeah.
fast so you can include it in the weekly or bi-weekly
so
payroll.
we print our efficiency once a quarter, give or take, whenever, we're doing raises or whatever. And it's so simple to look at and go, well, been here 400 hours this quarter and has billed 20, that guy's
Yeah.
kind of hard to justify.
Hopefully you catch it before the quarter.
Yeah,
It is
just as a number, yeah.
Comp adjustments. Is
Yeah,
that,
and you just can look right at it and go, and use it as a comparison to the next guy and say, look, listen, you've done 40 hours this quarter, and this guy's done 300 hours this quarter. What happened? Why?
Right.
There's your
And
impact scale.
yeah, it's pretty easy to just figure that out. I mean, with the pretty simple.
While we're wrapping up, let's put up the polling question, Matt. If you're interested in seeing a demo of Fullbay, obviously shop management software for a commercial shop. We have a question here from Luke. Is it a monohull or a catamaran, and what is your favorite rum? That's from Luke Todd.
It's a catamaran and Captain Morgan always.
Luke says, just kidding, do you have a written way to train service writers, or do you just work next to them and teach? Matt, what do you guys do?
We just train with them. We bring them in, set them down, and we just literally hand them a phone and say, take the phone. Your job is to put this in, and it's
Throw them in the fire.
throw them in the fire.
Yeah.
We've watched with like the new guys. We haven't watched the training videos on Fullbay. I'm not saying they don't help, but you get so much more of what you want to do
Just
when
by
you're
doing it.
Maybe you get
Yeah.
a proxy from that and
Yeah.
then get in there and
Yeah.
start. It's like
Yeah.
they need to touch and feel it.
Yeah, it's like they say, you learn to play the flute by playing the flute. That's
correct.
That's the
Yeah.
concept.
How about you, Stacey?
Yeah.
We do that, but we are also, this last year and a half, 2 years, we've really been building processes and procedures. And so we're taking, in this job description that has the tasks, we're documenting the tasks that are on it. So it's laid out, but it's not complete. I mean, I don't even know if it's like 20% complete, but we're going that direction.
If I started with your company, would I go through the Fullbay University or the help and training and all that, or would you just partner me up with a buddy and then whatever the buddy teaches me?
To be honest, the way this would work is somebody would come in, get you started. okay, in the spare time, I want you to watch Fullbay University, and then I'm going to come help you and answer questions as you go along. And then as you get a spare moment, look at Fullbay University
Got it.
and work your way through. That's how that would work.
Well, just wrapping up, we want to thank you for your time, Matt and Stacy. This has been great, and we'd love to have you back. I don't know if that's going to be possible with Matt. We might have to go down to the Caribbean.
Luke's going to try to find you, by the way.
We want to plug Diesel Connect. Will be in Phoenix in 2023. You can learn and network with shop owners. So an actual conference for shop owners. Yeah. We have early bird pricing out right now. You can save $100 if you purchase before 10/31, before October 31st. And this is the first ever commercial repair industry's premier networking and knowledge sharing events. So you can buy tickets at dieselconnectshow.com. And it would encourage you all to participate. We'll be there, and we're hosting it here in Phoenix, and it should be a great time. So thanks so much. We have a few late questions here. We'll get these answered after the webinar, and we wish you safe travels. Thanks a lot. And thanks everyone for
Thanks for having
attending.
us.
Thanks.
Thanks.